You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
Time to fire up the VCR. This one's my favorite. That was gold.
Welcome to Analog Jones in the Temple of Film. I'm Steve.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are about to do our October month. Well, Sarah gets the first one. Matt gets the rest because he's lazy, he's horrible, and he's like apparently in New York. But who cares about him?
It's so sad that Matt has a life.
Yeah, I know. What a dork.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't get the first one here in our October month, and we're doing something a little bit different. We're not doing scary movies.
Something special.
A little special. We're doing TarantinOctober. And the first one is, what do we have?
We have True Romance, a Tony Scott film.
From the director of Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Hello, baby. Clarence? I'm a married man, buddy.
A con man.
Ask him if he got the letter.
Did you get the letter?
What letter?
He wants to talk to you.
No time. Tell him we gotta go.
A call girl.
You call for a date?
Huh?
I'm Alabama.
She a 4-alarm fire or what?
She seems very nice.
What are you doing in L.A. anyway, huh?
And a suitcase full of trouble.
My name is Vincent Cocotti. I work as consul for Mr. Blue Boyle, the man your son stole from.
Now, all that stands between them and their wildest dreams.
Find out who this wing and a prayer artist is and take him off at the neck.
Are 60 cops. 40 agents.
He's a wild man, this kid Clarence. I like him.
30 mobsters.
I haven't killed anybody since 1984.
And a few thousand bullets.
We're all gonna die here. These are cops.
Put him down! Put him down! Put him down!
Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken.
Slow it down, man.
In a Tony Scott film.
I think what you did was so romantic.
Not since Bonnie and Clyde have two people been so good at being bad. True Romance.
There's our trailer. Boom, boom, bang, bang. I love these 90s films, the whole ensemble cast, and especially when they got into the 90s. Like, well, I guess the end of the 80s had the whole buddy cop thing into the little bit of the 90s. And then we got a lot of, like, true crime kind of drama, fantasy. I don't know, because we had, Pulp Fiction and...
Exactly.
And True Moment. Basically, the entire 90s was only Tarantino films.
It's funny that you say that. I wasn't allowed to watch Tarantino films in the 90s, so this month has been my first exposure to many of these films, except for Pulp Fiction. I did get to watch that when I was, I believe, a sophomore in high school.
Ooh, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the greatest films of the 90s, period. So.
Yeah, well, I didn't get to watch it at home, though, because I wasn't allowed.
Yeah, you had to watch only Disney films?
That or, yeah, pretty much just Disney films.
Yeah, this also kicks off our kind of like announcement of our Halloween party. We always do a Halloween party each year.
This will be the third annual.
Third annual, yes. We matched it with the podcast, and now we've just turned it into, our Halloween party. So it's like a mixture. And last year we did Stephen King films.
Yep, that was fun. We still have some of those decorations up in our apartment.
Where? No,
at the bathroom. We still have the room number in the bathroom.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the Psycho room number, or not the Psycho room number, the Shining room number.
Yep.
Yeah, that's yeah, that never came down. I forgot about
that.
Yeah. So this year, if you come to our party and you're dressed as a Tarantino character, whatever he did, the movies he wrote, or movies he were in, or directed. We don't really care. We've got prizes, for best one, most authentic. We've also got a special prize that I picked out for laziest costume.
Yes. Last year we had some great contenders, and this year we're excited to see what people come up with.
It's always a lot of fun. You always get like characters, like last year with Stephen King. There were characters where they came in and I'm like, oh my God, someone came in as the diner cook from not Trucks, but Maximum Overdrive.
Pretty sure he won, right?
Yeah,
Did he
Paul.
not win? Paul. Yeah.
Paul came in. I forget the character's name from it, but Emilio Estevez, he comes in. He had like the grease stains and everything. That one, most authentic.
Most authentic. It's
We
a
also
pretty
have,
cool party.
Yeah, most creative. So, yeah, it's always great. And last year, someone's going to have to beat Chase. Chase had the dome. He took, what did he take? A strainer? Or something, some kind of bowl. He put it over his head with like a bunch of, I don't know, like Hot Wheels cars or whatever.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm the dome. Like, yep, that's the laziest.
Yep. He was a good participator.
It's going to be a tough one to beat. But hopefully Chase comes this year. Maybe he can redo his lazy costume.
Oh, yeah.
Not that one, but, like find another one. I'm sure he will.
I bet, yes.
But, so let's start off talking about True Romance. Now, this is a story or a script from Quentin Tarantino. He didn't direct this one. This is Tony Scott's film.
Right. And I loved this film unexpectedly.
Yeah, it was, as soon as it ended, you're like, wow, I love that.
There was just so much charmingness about it. As much rawness and weirdness and uncomfortableness it was, there was a lot of charming in it.
Yeah, it is raw. That especially is like every character just has their emotions worn on their sleeve.
Exactly.
I mean, you have Alabama, which is, what is it, Arquette? What's her first
Patricia
name?
Arquette.
Yeah, Patricia Arquette. She's, like always giggling, even in like
Yes.
really uncomfortable situations.
I think every beginning and ending of every sentence was a giggle for her. Yeah. And I noticed that at first, and I thought it was a bit annoying. And then I just kind of grew to love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, she sticks very firm to that characteristic really well. And then you have Christian Slater's character, Clarence. Clarence is interesting because he has such... his character changed so much throughout the film as he goes from like a nerdy... Well, he had some confidence, but he was nerdy at the beginning, and he certainly wasn't the badass he turns into.
I don't actually think he changes all that much. I think he pretty much sticks to his character the whole time.
He murders someone and then just becomes like over the top. At the very beginning, he did ask out that one girl at the bar.
Yeah, I would say he's always been confident. I just think as he has more worldly possessions, he becomes even more confident, which gives him the ability to act a little bit different. But I think his character holds throughout the whole. I don't see him transition from one character to a bigger, badder character. I think he's the same guy the whole time.
Well, maybe he always had it inside of him, and Alabama helped, and killing someone helped turn him into like the bigger than life character that was always in his head.
Yeah, but I mean, let's talk about him having a character in his head. Now, this part was really weird to me, and I actually had to rewatch the part where he has a inner voice that is...
It's Elvis.
Elvis Presley.
Even though it's credited as Mentor.
So lonely, so lonely, so lonely, I could die.
Well, can you live with it?
What?
I said, can you live with it?
Live with what?
That son of a bitch walking around breathing the same air as you. Getting away with it every day. Are you haunted?
Yeah.
You want to get unhaunted?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'd kill him. Shoot him in the face.
It's clearly, I mean, he loves... One of the characteristics of Clarence throughout this entire film is he loves Elvis.
He loves Elvis, but this is not your typical Elvis. This is like Killer Thrasher Elvis.
badass Elvis. Well, I don't know if it was badass, but he was putting badass thoughts into Clarence's head. It's all in Clarence's head. This is what I'm saying. Like, but he creates, an Elvis mentor to get him to go kill a pimp and then sell coke and go live, in Mexico.
But that's like a mental problem waiting to happen. I mean, the beginning credits is Clarence talking to Elvis, Elvis is trying to kill him. I mean, wait. Elvis is trying to tell him to kill.
Yeah, but that's not the beginning.
The drug lord. It's not the beginning?
No, the beginning is just Clarence at a bar asking out some girl at the bar, where he's just like, do you want to go see a kung fu movie with me? And she's like, you're asking me out to see a kung fu movie? And he goes, no, I'm asking you out to see 3.
In Jailhouse Rock, he was everything Rockabilly's about. No, I mean, he is Rockabilly. Mean, surly, nasty, rude. In that movie, he couldn't give a fuck about nothing. Except rock and roll.
Yes, and she rejected him quite fast.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual VHS cover on this. Do you remember this as a kid at all in the video store?
I feel like I have seen this cover before, but no. Again, I would not have been allowed to see this movie in 1993.
Yeah, it came out September 93. The video probably came out, I don't know, somewhere in the winter or spring of 94.
Yeah, because first of all, it has Christian Slater standing there holding a gun, obviously trying to shoot somebody. Yeah. That's already a big no-no for the Forsman household.
Yeah, for the Steven house, or the Bay household, it was just like, well, whatever. We let them watch anything anyway. Yeah,
I wasn't allowed, but...
Except a few things, which made no sense.
But I think that if I saw this today, I would definitely rent it.
Now, see, to me, one of the problems with this is, like, it's a really generic cover. It's just them coming out of a doorway and Christian Slater has a gun.
Yeah, but Patricia Arquette, looks crazy.
Yeah, I've never really been attracted to her, so a 13-year-old Steve would have been like, meh.
You didn't think she's attractive this time?
No, I really don't. I never got into, she's just not I don't know.
I think that she was most attractive when she had sunglasses on.
No, she's got a cute look in this and everything. I just think, like, the whole giggling, it kind of, like, there's something, I don't know. Just not but she's a great actress.
Oh, yeah.
Everything she's in, she gives it her all. I mean, I think she's won an Oscar now, so.
I think she was the star of the movie.
I think she is, and the ensemble cast.
Yeah.
I think Christian Slater does a good job, but he doesn't shine. The cast, the ensemble cast in this is ridiculous. It's basically the entire 90s threw up on it.
Yeah, I thought Christian Slater was fine, like his character was fine, but it was actually all the characters around him that were just like awesome. The good and the bad characters. But Clarence, to me, honestly, seemed like just a kid I probably would have gone to school with back in 1995.
Yeah, that was in the comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, his character, the beginning of his character is so simple. He works at a comic book shop. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He doesn't even see his dad. I think his mom's passed away.
Right.
He's alone. It's a lonely life.
Yeah.
And I think he goes to these movies to forget. And he goes, his birthday, he goes and sees a movie every day on his birthday. But I think he also sees, like, movies once a week, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely into movies. They really played him up as the nerdy comic book Elvis-loving, kid. And
yeah, I mean, he's not gay, but if he had to fuck a dude, he'd fuck Elvis.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I love that. I love the courage to start your movie off with just that kind of weird joke. Yeah, so let's get into it. Go ahead. You already described the front. Read the description on the back.
Yeah, True Romance is the story of two unlikely lovers, Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette, whose whirlwind romance propels them into the dangerous game of high-stakes negotiations and high-speed adventure. The pair find themselves in unexpected possession of a suitcase full of valuable mob contraband, which they plan to take from Detroit to Los Angeles. There, they plan to sell the goods and begin a new life, but the gangsters and the police have other ideas.
Yeah, suitcase full of coke.
Yeah, but
a lot of coke.
A lot of coke. Like
uncut cocaine, like, you know, like the amount Joel Silver would purchase. Joel Silver.
I feel like you did the same thing in the last podcast I was in.
Because Joel Silver and Tony Scott have worked together, and we've actually talked about, Matt and I have talked about the movie, which is The Last Boy Scout.
Okay. But last time he must have been in the movie that we also watched together last time.
No, or I just kind of like to throw Joel Silver into everything. Oh, yeah, you're right. He was the producer on, wow, it's been such a long time since we did a cluster of movies. I can't even remember. Like, my brain just...
It was like your favorite movie.
I know. My brain hurts. It's gone. It's melted after watching all these characters act their ass off in True Romance.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I think that she was the star of the show is for a whole bunch of like tiny little things that happened throughout the show. Like...
her fight with James Gandolfini.
Yeah, that. But also, if you notice throughout the movie, like as soon as they meet and they decide that they're going to be in love, he completely and utterly trusts her with everything.
Yeah, they just fall madly in love together. I mean, it's lust. But it matures quickly. At first, I was like, oh, this is just two idiots making a rash decision.
Exactly.
But then when... the way she was talking to Clarence, like when she met his father, you know, she's doing all these little quirky things, and you kind of like so quickly you start to buy into their love.
Yeah, but another thing that I noticed, and it was one of the scenes where they were they were trying to exchange the drugs, and they had exchanged the drugs for money. And they threw the money at her, or they said, do you want to give her the money? And the Christian Slater character, Clarence, was like, yeah, give her the money. Like, he 100% trusted her from the beginning. And I think that's why her character was, like, the badass of the movie. Because she became, like, the trusted advisor to Clarence.
Yeah, she was definitely a badass throughout the film. So was Clarence. Like, they just... But is it also Clarence? You just shook your head at Clarence being a badass too?
I didn't. I thought his character was so lesser compared to all the other characters.
He walks into a den with a pimp and drug dealers. A pimp that, I mean, Clarence doesn't know, that just slaughtered two guys in a couple scenes beforehand. Yeah. Gets into a fight, throws him into a fish tank, kills two dudes in that. Takes a bag full of coke, which he didn't know it was coke at the time.
No, he
didn't.
And
then goes on that adventure. She goes with him and then kills a gigantic James Gandolfini. I'll be honest. I think they're both equal badasses.
I don't know, because the whole time that she was getting the shit beat out of her, she was giggling, she was laughing, and she survived. She didn't even lose a tooth. Her teeth were still all in perfect shape after that.
Didn't you make that comment during the movie? You're like, how did she not lose a tooth?
Yes. She has those like kind of janky front teeth, and not a single one of them fell out.
Yeah, she would probably have lost a tooth.
Yeah.
I mean, that man, James Gandolfini, like, is it Gandolfini? Whatever. It's Tony Soprano. First, it was weird seeing him younger.
I thought so too.
Yeah, and I always forget he's in this film.
I just kept playing him up as this like old fat guy.
Yeah, he was, I'm not going to say, you know, in fantastic shape, but he was thinner.
He was cute. I would say he's cute. He was cute. I actually thought he was an attractive man in this part.
We can both agree, he's a giant compared to her.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he's just a giant in real life. He looks like he's, 6'4"? He looks huge.
Oh, yeah. Either that or they just make him look so huge by, like, his characters and his clothing.
And he's so disconnected, too, with... So he has a great little scene. There are 3, in my opinion, iconic scenes in this film. And this is one of them. And this is more in the middle-ish end, where he walks into the hotel room when she's in there. Clarence just left to go get lunch or something, some burgers.
Yeah.
And he comes in there and he just starts smacking her around because she won't tell him. I mean, punching him. Or he's punching her, smacking her, throwing her around. He's like, tell me where the coke is. She won't give him any information. So he's sitting, and then he starts to tell this story about the first one's your hardest.
Look at that. I mean, look at her. She looks like she fell off the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
Now, the first time you kill somebody, that's the hardest. I don't give a shit if you're fucking Wyatt Earp or Jack the Ripper. Remember that guy in Texas? The guy up in that fucking tower killed all them people? I bet you green money that first little black dot he took a beat on, that was a bitch of the bunch. First one is tough, no fucking fooling. The second one ain't no fucking Mardi Gras either, but it's better than the first one, because you still feel the same thing, you know? Except it's more diluted, you know, it's better. I drew up on the first one, you believe that? And the third one. Third one is easy, you level right off.
Oh.
It's the first one. The second one's a little bit better, but still really hard. The third one, at that point, you're just doing things. You know, you're numb. And he goes, at this point, I'm just killing people now to see just to see a reaction. And he's so disconnected from what all of us, you know, normal everyday people. I mean, we can think about murder all we want, or we can watch it, but actually performing the act is something that is just like you get to it and you couldn't do it. This guy's done it so much that he just like throws a side comment. Now I just do it to see a reaction. And you're like, damn.
Yeah, but there were a lot of, I mean, I would say that he's one of many characters that it was so uncomfortably awesome to watch how odd and iconic they were throughout their characters.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of action films, sci-fi films, and horror films where, you know, the violence is ramped up really high, but you kind of get desensitized to it. For some reason in this movie, the violence is so brutal and personal.
Not to take it away from the violence, but I really liked the facial expressions of everybody. I have several different moments in the movie where I thought that just watching the character's face was the most amazing part of the scene. And one of those scenes was when Christopher Walken meets up with the dad. Yeah. And the dad is telling the story about Sicilians being a mixed race. And if you just watch Chris Walken's face, it's amazing. He's an amazing actor anyway. But, like, you can just see, like, his eyes lighting up, but then his face being doubtful, and it was amazing.
Hey, Ramo! Ramo!
Frankie, tell Luca to go outside and do you know what?
Vai fuori, tu sai che da fare.
Sì, Phil. Non te cagare. Do you know who I am, Mr. Woolley?
I give up. Who are you?
The Antichrist. You get me in a vendetta kind of mood. You tell the angels in heaven you never seen evil so singularly personified as you did in the face of the man who killed you. My name is Vincent Kirkcaldy. I work as counsel for Mr. Blue Lou Boyle, the man your son stole from. I hear you were once a cop, so I can assume you've heard of us before. Am I correct?
I've heard of Blue Lou Boyle.
I'm glad. Hopefully, that will clear up the how full of shit of my question you've been asking yourself. We're going to have a little Q&A. And at the risk of sounding redundant, please make your answers genuine. You want a Chesterfield?
No.
I have a son, my own, about your boy's age. I can imagine how painful this must be for you. But Clarence and that bitch-whore girlfriend of his brought this all on themselves. I implore you, not to go down that road with them. You can always take comfort in the fact you never had a choice.
Look, I'd like to help you if I could, but I haven't seen Clarence.
You see that? And smarts, doesn't it? You're slammed in the nose. Fucks you all up. Get that pain shooting through your brain, your eyes fill up with water. That ain't any kind of fun. But what I have to offer you, that's as good as it's gonna get. And it won't ever get that good again. We talked to your neighbors. They saw a Cadillac. Purple Cadillac. Clarence's purple Cadillac. Parked in front of your trailer yesterday. Mr. Wally, you seen your son?
I seen him.
I can't be sure of how much of what he told you, so in the chance you're in the dark about some of this, let me shed some light. That whore your boy hangs around with, a pimp, is an associate of mine. I mean, just pimping and other affairs. He works for me in a courier capacity. Well, apparently. A dirty little whore found out I'm going to do some business because your son, the cowboy, and his flame, came in the room blazing and didn't stop till they were pretty sure everybody was dead.
What are you talking about?
Talking about a massacre. They snatched my narcotics, hightailed it out of there.
The scene gets flipped on him because he comes in as the source of power. He sits his dad down and he's telling him, he's like, try to be sincere with your answers. Don't get repetitive. Tell me the truth. He's incredibly intimidating without saying anything intimidating. He never said, we're going to beat you. We're going to cut you. We're going to torture you. He just sits him down and His confidence leaps off him. And he's barely has any emotion. And then his dad, Dennis Hopper, right when he gets a chance, he kicks off one of the greatest monologues. And it's at the same time insanely offensive.
Yeah.
And incredibly effective.
Yeah.
And you know what he's doing. He's looking at these Sicilians, these tough macho Italians, which he knows, his character, being a cop, probably knows they can't stand to be affiliated with a certain minority. And that certain minority, Black Americans, and it's so uncomfortably offensive, but you're captivated at every moment of this, and it doesn't.
And offended.
Yeah,
at every moment.
But that's the point.
Yeah, it was very, very uncomfortable to watch, but it was also a great scene. It's
one of my favorite monologues I have ever seen. And the thing is, like, when you say that, some people are like, "Ooh, that's pretty offensive." And you're like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think it's I don't have a favorite monologue, but what I liked watching throughout was just his Chris Walken's face and the way that he responded with like a little smirk and then a little bit of pissiness and then just you couldn't really tell. He's
the toughest man on the block in a way. And at one point when he has to, he's like, he pisses off Christopher Walken's character so much that he actually murders him. And then he says, he's like, I haven't killed anyone since 1984.
Right.
Because he hasn't had to. He's had all of his, he's so far up in the ranks that like now he takes himself down a couple pegs to become, a killer again. Because he is so offended, but he's also so impressed. You can tell where he's laughing. He goes, this fucking guy. Look at this guy did.
Yeah.
He's like, you kill me. And he's always going to remember that man, even though he fucking hates him.
Yeah. So was that one of your 3 favorite scenes?
Yes.
So that was
the first one. I know both of us. Because the first one, I love to hear the shock when you're like, what? First they show Gary Oldman as a white guy who thinks he's black in dreadlocks as a pimp / drug dealer.
He's so good. I've never I have only ever seen Gary Oldman as like a detective or a character that's more polished. I guess I've probably only seen like his more recent stuff. And this is fucked up. This character is so fucked up and awesome.
He transforms into this guy. And this is so funny because Tony Scott, when he called Gary Oldman, he's like, I really want you to be in this film. And he sold it talking to him before he got into an elevator, apparently. He's just like, yeah, he's a drug dealer / pimp who thinks he's black, but he's actually white and he has dreadlocks. And Gary Oldman goes, oh, that character sounds great. I'm in. That's it. And he hung up. He's like, I gotta go. I'll have my people call your people and we'll get you on. He goes, it's only a couple days shoot. And that was it. Gary Oldman came in, they put the makeup on him, all the stuff they did, and like people on set, like Christian Slater, the shock he has, like where he takes his sunglasses off and he looks at him. The reason Christian Slater has that look is because that is literally the first time he is seeing Gary Oldman. And he is in his boxer shorts in like some kind of leopard print robe. And he's like, yeah. And they kept that shot specifically because Tony Scott, the editor and everything, is like, his face is so genuine because it is really happening to him.
It was so, and Gary Oldman's character is wild.
Yeah, he's like, an animal.
He's what?
He's an animal.
He's an animal, but literally, like, they obviously had him jumping off of platforms at people during the fight scene or fighting part of this scene because it was like watching, the Muppet Babies or like the Muppets, not even the Muppet Babies, but watching like Animal run into the room like, ah! Like that's how I would compare that character to something else I've seen. It was wild.
And by the way, he does the exact same thing. Clarence comes in and there's a movie with some, it's got boobies on the screen and he's got all these it's got all this Chinese food on it. And so he comes in and Drexel's, an animal. He's literally got like leopard print on. This is hilarious. And it's so 90s. That room, everything 90s.
I almost thought 70s because that hanging light
yeah,
thing
well, I mean, the
definitely...
70s and the 90s had the...
Yeah.
Kind of... It's funny because we have another movie that Tarantino did that is very 90s that also has a 70s vibe to it. I'm not going to say it, though, because that's next week, and it's got to be a surprise. So he comes in, he's looking at him, he's got boobies on the screen, he's got the Chinese food below.
Boobies.
And Gary... And Drexel's, like, have an egg roll. Because they're about to negotiate. Because he comes in and he's like, I want to talk about Alabama. And he puts an envelope down on the table. He's like, this is what I think, I owe you. She's my wife now. Yada, yada. And whatever. And when he says, there's boobies on the screen and you don't want an egg roll, I know who you are. And you've been clocking me the minute you came in. Like, he's like, I've showed you nothing. You've showed me everything. And then Christian Slater, Clarence, immediately flips it. Just like his dad did in scenes later on where he goes...
Ah, yeah.
He goes, no, the reason I'm not eating egg rolls is because I'm not hungry. The reason I'm not looking at this movie is because I've already seen it 7 years ago. And then he lists who's in it. And then he goes, and third, the reason I don't want to sit down and talk to you is because I don't like you.
You want something?
Hey, you Drexel?
No, man, I'm Marty.
I want to talk to Drexel.
What the fuck you want to talk to him about?
What's about Alabama?
Venus, the bull is taken, the beast in you is awakened.
says goodbye, Alabama.
Where the fuck is that bitch?
She's with me.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm her husband.
Yeah. Well, that makes us practically related. You have a seat, boy. You have your sofa egg roll. We got everything here from a little eye Joe to damned if I know.
No thanks.
No thanks? What that mean? I think you're too scared to be eaten. Let's see. We're sitting down here, ready to negotiate. You about ready to giving up your shit. I'm still a mystery to you.
And he goes, here's an envelope with the money I think I owe you. You know, I want Alabama stuff. And then Gary Oldman's character, Drexel, opens up the envelope. There's nothing in it. And he leaps like an animal at him.
Like, literally.
It's nuts. It's so good. It's, those three iconic scenes. Well, and then maybe at the fourth at the end, but I don't know.
Before you say your fourth iconic scene, my favorite scene was I think it was very close to the end when they're all coming. The cops are on one side. The drug dealers are on the other side. I thought that scene was fabulous.
Yeah, where everyone's pointing guns at each other.
I thought it was, like, that was the moment in the movie. That wasn't the only moment in the movie, but I didn't expect to like this movie at all. And that was towards the end, and that was, like, one of the scenes that, like, made me think, yeah, I like this movie because it's smart.
Yeah,
it is so smart.
Tarantino's dialogue is incredible.
It's smart because... But not only that, like, everybody's shooting at each other, and then there's all these, like, white feathers that are, like, flowing at the same time, and so it's, like, this magical white feathers, and people are dying, but, like, it was just, to me, it just was amazing.
That's what you get when you have such an incredible writer like Quentin Tarantino with his dialogue, such a fantastic director with Tony Scott, how he puts together a film, and then you have Jeffrey Kimball, who's worked with Tony Scott, I believe, on Top Gun and the other... No, Beverly Hills Cop 2, he did that one too. And I think he did the other Tom Cruise... What is it? Where he's a race car driver? I just forgot. Whatever.
Risky Business?
No, it's where he's now.
I don't know. I just came up with that.
He's a race car driver. Tony Scott directed it. I just forgot it. But anyway, he had a fantastic eye, and he's done a lot of 80s, 90s movies that almost everyone has seen. You know, from Top Gun to Beverly Hills Cop 2 to True Romance. This movie came back into the limelight when Margot Robbie was talking, I think, at a press conference. And she said, like, True Romance was her favorite Quentin Tarantino film or written film or whatever she said with it. I can't quite remember.
True or false? Floyd from True Romance, the greatest stoner character of all time.
Absolutely true.
Really? Thank you.
Absolutely true. 1000%. Get cleaning products.
Hey, get some beer and some cleaning products.
Get cleaning products.
There's been some good ones.
Condescend me, motherfucker.
Condescend me, man. Fucking kill you, man.
Condescend me, motherfucker.
Godfather 1.
Written by Quentin Tarantino.
Of course.
My favorite movie of all time.
True Romance? Mm-hmm. By Tony Scott.
Really? I walked down the aisle to the True Romance music.
Come on. What? Oh, that's good.
I remember hearing more and more about this film. So hopefully this gets back into the scene now where more people go back and watch it, because this movie did really bad in the box office.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
It was just one of those movies that was, you know, critically loved, and everyone who saw it loved it, but it spent about $12 million on a budget and only made about $12 million in September 1993. I believe it came out. And it's really funny. One of the movies that really sank this was Hard Target.
I've never even heard
was
of that movie.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Well, anyone who listens to this show will know what I'm talking about. All the guys out there.
But I'm not your typical audience.
But, I mean, that movie made like $40 million or something like that, and it kind of was hitting the same audience as this. So, that sucks. That's bad luck.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I look at this movie, like with the poster and everything, I just don't really think it sticks out enough. It just looks like, like a cheaper version of, I'm not going to say Thelma and Louise. I think I'm just saying that because they both have Brad Pitt in it, but in smaller roles. But I just don't know. I just don't think this stuck out.
Well, here's what I thought. You know, like I said, in 1993, I didn't know anything about this movie. But when you told me that Quentin Tarantino had a movie named True Love or True Romance, I was like, awesome. I'm going to go see that movie because, it's a romance. So I'm wondering if maybe, like, in 1993, the title True Romance really didn't hit, the audience of who would typically go to a Tarantino movie, because it's about romance. Like, putting true romance in the title of a movie is going to knock some people right out of it.
Plus, Tarantino didn't have the name at this point.
No.
I mean, he directed Reservoir Dogs. I mean, later in a couple years, you're going to have Natural Born Killers come out that he wrote the story for, and then Oliver Stone directed. But then Pulp Fiction hit, I think, 94, 95. I can't quite remember. 94. Yeah, because it's going to be the 25-year anniversary coming up. Almost soon, October. Somewhere in October, I believe, 1994. So you have that, and Pulp Fiction is probably, one of the movies at the top of the mountain of the 90s. You've got your Titanics, but there's a lot of people, I'm sure, who listen to this podcast, or, that type of, like, 30-something-year-old male. They're probably not like, oh, Titanic, who gives a shit, But it was, and Pulp Fiction is right there below it, or maybe above it. Depending, it's all subjective, but...
Right. I would agree.
And that's when Quentin Tarantino, after that point, it didn't matter. I mean,
that's the only movie I knew of his, to be honest, until you took me to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep.
When you took me to that was probably the second Quentin Tarantino movie that I had ever seen.
Yeah, now you've seen 4, right?
I've seen
True Romance, written by, he did the screenplay, Pulp Fiction, which he wrote and directed.
Yes.
And now you've seen The Hateful Eight. Yeah, you didn't like that one. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. And yeah, this is, I love this movie. I really love this movie. I don't know if I would watch it again, but I will never forget it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think you'd watch it again. I bet if this movie was on, you'd be like, oh, I love this movie.
Yeah, I think although Patricia Arquette is kind of a goofy girl here, I just to bring a more feminine touch to your podcast today, I loved all of her outfits and all of her the girly aspect of it. She was like the beauty queen of the whole movie, and no other woman in the movie had as bright as clothing as her, and as like blonde as hair as her, or as a bubbly laugh or anything. Like, she's just really a hit. I just really liked her.
Yeah, when it comes to her appearance, yeah, she definitely goes farther than anyone else. With her, polka dot dress, or her bright, shiny, awesome sunglasses, or like the sunglasses she was wearing when she was on the phone call. I don't know. I just really liked
it. It was really hot. She looked really hot. Yeah, she had like these bright blue rimmed sunglasses and this like cute little top, and she had like pink lipstick on. I mean, she was beautiful, I thought. I don't think that she's classically beautiful, but I think in this movie, and also she's very Southern. Like, every time she talked to Clarence, she would call him baby, and she was very loving.
Yeah, she had a lot of little nicknames for him.
Yeah, but she was really loving and comforting and affectionate, and was also such a fucking badass.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She owned this character.
Yeah. I just loved it. I thought it was great.
One of the characters I'll bring up is this is kind of why I brought up Joel Silver subconsciously. The producer at the end, who had done like the Vietnam movies, they had brought up multiple times. That is a character kind of sort of based off of Joel Silver.
Oh, really?
He's buying all the coke. He's eccentric.
Oh, I didn't pick
all
that
over
up.
The place. The actor, I have no idea who that actor's name is. I've seen him in plenty of things. He always does a good job. But that character actor, Sal Rudnick, fucking love how much he owned that role.
Yeah,
How
he
he's
was
just like,
good.
Clarence, when I have a deal too good to be true, I think it's shit. Why don't you come with me? Talk to me. Sell me. Why is this deal worth making? Like, it's just like his little bitty. He's so Hollywood too.
Yeah. Should we, while we're talking about some of the other characters, should we also mention Brad Pitt and who's that other guy? Phoebe's cop boyfriend from Friends. What's his name?
Phoebe's cop boyfriend. I know Samuel L. Jackson's in this. That's not who you're talking about.
No, the best friend.
Oh, what is that guy's name?
Michael something. Michael Rappaport.
Yeah, Michael Rappaport. Yeah,
Rappaport. Yeah,
He's been acting forever now.
He has, but he's. I would say that like he has held true to that character, that like New York kind of like character, and this was a different type of character. You could tell he was a brand new actor. Probably hadn't had a lot of different parts, and he was just kind of this young kid. And I enjoyed that part of it too, because I've always seen him in most movies. He's like, I don't give a fuck, and he's like cussing a lot, and he's a comedian too, I think. Maybe he's not a comedian.
I don't know.
Yeah, but then who was the other one? Brad Pitt's character was so stupid. It was so fun. Floyd. It was so fun to see Brad Pitt in a role before he was something bigger, because he literally said hardly anything and was so dumb in this movie, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, he was just a little bit character at this point. He had been in Thelma Louise. He was kind of the good-looking guy that you'd stick in a movie. He had a starring role in Cool World, but that didn't quite work. So, he was just picking up roles. But this is just like a year or two before, you got Interview with the Vampire, Legend of the Falls, and then the 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
12 Monkeys. Which after that, and then Fight Club. Once you hit Fight Club, it was it.
But I want to say, that character Floyd reminded me. So if you think back to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was basically like that Brad Pitt's character, except when he was like a kid.
Yeah, maybe right before he became a stuntman, he's just sitting on the couch getting stoned. The most hilarious part, one of the funniest scenes in this is when he's smoking on it, like with a shitty bong, by the way. I don't even know what it was, but he's getting high and all the gangsters come in and they're like, "Where's Clarence?" And he's like coughing. He goes, "Holy shit, man." Because you can tell a person's like, "Is this real?"
And then he's like, he left. He went to the blank blank hotel. And
yeah, he like tells them exactly where it is. Like he has this moment of where he's like, "Wait, you guys want a hit of this?" And they just like look at him and he goes,
"No."
Okay. And then he like points and gets sober for a moment, points straight to the hotel. He's like, "You go over there. They're in this room."
Yeah.
Like sobers up. And
yeah.
Hopefully, I like to think that they didn't kill him. That they thought he
wasn't
so
in that
stupid.
Final scene, though. He wasn't in the
but
scene.
They don't. After he tells them the address, they just cut.
Oh.
It's a good cut, just to get.
Oh, I
keep the
doubt
action
they
going.
killed him. Like he's so stupid. Like he doesn't even honestly, if he wasn't even in the movie, it wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, I hope you're right though. I hope this has like a slight connection to Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's not the first time I've done that. Because this movie has a connection to Reservoir Dogs. Because was it Mr. White? I think actually was part of Drexler's like little group because he says he's like, yeah, I work with an associate named Alabama.
Oh.
So yeah, there is a connection between this movie and there's a reason for that because behind the scenes, Tarantino was basically Floyd, maybe with a little less weed. He was jumping from couch to couch.
Are you sure he wasn't Michael Rappaport's character?
Well, no, I'm pretty sure he's also Clarence.
Oh, I'm sure he might be a little bit of all of them.
Yeah, well, Clarence, with the comic books. So I think Quentin Tarantino right now was jumping from couch to couch. He was working at a video store, and he wrote like 3 scripts in a row. And he's just like, I'm going to see what fucking happens. I don't know. He wrote Reservoir Dogs, he wrote True Romance, and he wrote Natural Born Killers. And he sent all of them out. Now, he somehow, I don't know how it worked out that he got the money. Because he did a short of Reservoir Dogs, and then he got the money and he finished the film. And that hit, I think, 1992, maybe. And that was, like everyone's like, holy shit. And then immediately the Scotts, Tony Scott and Ridley Scott, bought his script, True Romance, and wanted him to direct it. And Tarantino didn't want to.
No?
No, he said, I don't think I can do this film. He's like, yeah, I wrote it, but I don't think I could just direct it. So I've actually read the script of True Romance. I fell in love with this movie when I was in high school. And we had an English class where we got a creative English class where we got to write or whatever. So we had to read something that we wanted to. It was like read about it. So you got to choose your own. And I was like the weird kid who's like, I don't want to read a fucking book. I want to read a script, and I want to read this script.
Huh.
And that was a bitch to find in the late 90s.
I wouldn't know. That's a pretty creative thing to do, though.
I had to go into a movie, I don't know, it was like where you would chat with people, like a movie chat place, and I would ask everyone, does anyone have
like
the
a chat room?
Yeah,
online?
But it was specific. It was like a movie chat room. I don't remember quite what it was, but that's when I was going down the rabbit hole of like searching for this, going to libraries and stuff like that, making calls to bigger libraries in our area. Yes, kids, we'd actually talk to other humans. So I remember calling the St. Louis library at the time and asking them, and you should have heard this woman. She's like, what? And I'm like, I'm looking for a script. It's called True Romance. And she's like, I have Dirty Romance. And I'm like, what kind of fucking library is this?
So did you find this? Where did you end up finding
I found
the
it
script?
on it. Someone actually emailed me a link to go and read it. And it was on a PDF form on my shitty ass computer at home.
Wow.
And this is what my dad got so pissed because I was trying to print it. And I hit the print button a couple times and it wouldn't. So I left. I came back and he's like, there's like 500 pages. And I printed out True Romance like, I don't know, 7-8 times. I'm like, whoa, my bad.
That's a lot of, and that's like the big print.
Well, and it was funny too.
Big spaces.
So you see the title True Romance right there in red. On the top left of every page of it was a watermark.
Oh.
So every page wasn't just black and white, it was color. So I just destroyed the coloring.
My dad would have killed me.
Well, my dad was pissed, but luckily it's not like dad ever used the computer or printed anything at the time. So, but my mom was just like, well, that's going to cost us some money. But yeah, I read that script and then I just had, because I knew who Quentin Tarantino was at the time, but this is like, when you actually read the script, and the script is crazy, it's all over the place. His first one, he did it non-linear.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the first of it is just like him going up to his friend. He's like, "Oh, you're not gonna believe the story I have to tell you," and then he tells the beginning story of it. But you also there's one part where it kind of like, I don't know how they would have pulled this off in a movie because then it like goes out of it where his dad dies. So they're trying to like. There's part A and part B. Part A would be what's happening linearly, which would be him getting to his friend, his dad dying, and then him trying to make the drug dealer with the over-the-top producer. But then they fill it with all the backstory of him meeting Alabama, him killing the pimp, him, so Basically, what Tony Scott said was, "I love your dialogue. I love this story, but we got to make it linear because, it's just not going to work."
Yeah. Well, I like what they did with it.
Yeah,
I thought
so
it was
I.
great.
And Tarantino even says, he's like, "Yeah, Tony Scott took my movie and made it better."
That's good.
So.
But we're forgetting to mention one part of the movie that we both thought was weird.
Oh, the kiss.
Yeah, the kiss.
Because it is weird. It's creepy.
So, do you want to describe it? You want me to describe it?
You can.
So, they are visiting his dad, Clarence's dad, and this is the first time Clarence has seen his dad in 2 years, and in 3 years, excuse me, and I don't remember a lot of the details because that's just not my strong suit, but I do remember they stay for a couple hours or a couple days. I don't know.
What, his dad's place?
Yeah.
Just a couple hours.
Couple hours, and Clarence says, "This is my wife," and the dad's kind of like, "Oh, who knows? I'm not so sure and not so happy with the fact that his son brought his wife home, hasn't seen him in 3 years, blah, blah, blah." And then they leave, and as they're leaving, Alabama kisses Clarence's dad goodbye, but it's not like a short, peck on the cheek and a handshake. It's like almost romantic. And it is so strange. And as soon as he backs away, she gets in the car and he licks his lips and he says, "That tasted like peaches," or kind of like peaches.
Yeah.
So strange.
Something like, "God damn it, it did taste like peaches." He's right. Yeah, something like that.
But I wonder,
like his son said she's a peach.
But I wonder if there were some scenes that were cut from that to make it, because it's so weird. Throughout the movie, there weren't other little weird things like that. She didn't go around kissing every single guy. Maybe they were just calling back to her call girl days or something.
They may have, calling back to the call girls, obviously calling back to 5 minutes before when he said, "Ain't she a peach?"
Yeah,
God
but
damn,
that's
she's
not even a good
what? Ain't she a peach? She's a 5-alarm fire.
I don't know. That really.
Yeah,
struck
you might
me.
be right though, because he says, it's like, "God damn, she does taste. That does taste like peaches," or "She does," or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of another scene that really tells the tale of Clifford and Clarence, which, his dad's name is Clifford. I don't know. So they're sitting there talking, and he finds out that Alabama is his wife, and he's just like, I need this help and everything. And he goes, "God damn it, just slow down. You're so much like your mother. I can't believe it. You come in here like a bulldozer." But then they cut away, and he tells him the story of him killing Drexel. He tells the story of him killing Drexel, and then they cut back, and the train's coming by, and he's like, "You used to be a cop. I need to know, are the cops, on my trail? Do they know anything? I don't think they are, but I don't want to think. I want to know." And he's just like, "What makes you think I would help you?" And this was kind of one of Christian Slater's it was a small time to shine, where he's just like, because goddamn it, when you were going through, we find out that he used to be an alcoholic,
drunk, whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't around.
Yeah, and he was a cop. He was, working late. He was drinking, and he goes, "God damn it, when you're going through your shit for 2 years, did I ever throw that back in your face? No, everyone else did, but I never said a damn thing." And then he's just like, and then he's like, "The only reason you should help me," he's like, "I never asked you for anything, but you can help me now, and god damn it, please do it. But if you don't, then I'll just get in my car and go away." And it says a lot about Clarence in a weird way that he's so self-reliant, but he desperately needs help. This probably took a lot. He hadn't seen his dad in 3 years. This took a lot to go to him. And I personally relate to that, because I have a really hard time asking my dad for help because I want to do everything on my own. And it's a moment of weakness, but he knows he has to suck up his pride and go do this.
Yeah.
And it worked. And then his dad doesn't give the gangsters a damn thing.
Nope.
He insults them. He basically gives them a middle finger. They kill him. sadly, he gave his dad Clifford the address of where he was going. And then the one gangster goes, "Hey, boss, get ready to be happy."
Well, the address was on the refrigerator.
Too. Yeah, it's on the fridge.
Yeah.
He doesn't like... What annoys you in a lot of movies is they would usually point that out, be like, "Look, boss, you're going to be happy. I found his address on the refrigerator. He must have left it for his son." They don't do that shit in this movie. He just goes, they show it for a second.
Well, they show it. They show it right after he
gets
movie, killed.
This movie has the faith that its audience is smart enough to figure it out.
I don't know. They basically... I thought it was just a witty callback because they kill the dad and then 2 seconds later they're like, "Oh, there it is on the fridge."
It does the same thing with the drugs underneath the bed. When James Gandolfini is looking down, he goes, "God damn it, are you kidding me? You put the drugs underneath the bed?" He's like, "I'm so stupid for not looking there first."
And he'd already been halfway beat up, right?
It's funny little things like that. But even when they cut away to him about to tell the story of he just killed the gangster, they cut from it. Like, this movie does that several times. Where, like, it is better to sometimes have the faith that your audience is smart enough to figure this out. Like, another point is, you know, we find out that the suitcase he goes to get of Alabama's from Drexel wasn't her stuff. But they also don't show that it was the coke at first. You figure it out because he came back with a suitcase full of stuff he thought was her clothes, but she opens it up and she goes, "Baby, this ain't my stuff." And then before you know it, he's trying to sell coke.
Right.
We're smart enough to figure it out. Audiences aren't always stupid.
That's true.
And it I really like this movie for having the faith that we can figure it out. That's probably why it didn't do so well in the box office, because people really are dumb. But let's get into the museum.
This is the second time I've had to reclaim my property from you.
That belongs in a museum.
So do you.
This is the part of the show where we go out into the film jungle like Indy and pull something back, good or bad, what's going in our museum. I'll let the guest go first.
So I think what I would put in the museum is Drexel's glass eye. It's not a real glass eye. It's like a blurry glass eye. And his gold caps.
Yeah. You know, I know. He's spectacular, that makeup.
I just thought he was... I hated and loved that character. And I just couldn't believe it was Gary Oldman. And I would like to just put those two things in the museum because I think I wish that was an award-winning acting job. Like, I wish he would have won an award for just being a freaking Muppet animal.
Best cameo appearance in a 90s movie goes to Gary Oldman as Drexel in True Romance.
Yes.
We can make our own awards.
That's true.
We can make him
maybe we can get him to come.
We can make fake Oscars, Foskers.
What if we got him to come to our Halloween party? We could give him an award.
Let's go on Twitter and find the real Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and see if he can relive that character.
Drexel, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if he could do that anymore though. He's not that skinny or attractive.
Yeah, he could just make up his own Drexel. What would Drexel look like now as a 60-year-old man?
That's really scary.
Gary Oldman doesn't even say yes to it. He just shows up at our address.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Mine is... I just thought about this too, right when you were saying that. At the end, when Clarence gets shot in the eye, he gets shot in the same eye. Are they trying to say he has now become...
Drexel?
Well, evil. But yes, like Drexel. Because that was not in the original script. The original script, Clarence dies. But Tony Scott loved the character so much, he called Quentin Tarantino for permission, and it's funny.
I don't think so, because Drexel was a pimp, and Clarence is not a pimp.
Yeah, but he is now a murderer.
He's a murderer, but he's also a dad and a husband.
He's so cool.
And did you notice that? I think I noticed this. Tell me if I'm incorrect, but the whole movie was narrated by Clarence, And then at the end, they switched perspectives.
Yeah,
and
it was her. That's
it was
because
Alabama.
he's in the real script, he's dead. And she's like, telling what happened afterwards. She got away with the money, and she happened to be pregnant, and she went all the way to Mexico. Mexico? Where did they go? Cancun. And she went to Cancun, named the kid Elvis after Clarence. After Clarence's love for Elvis. Or she named it Clarence and said, Clarence would have wanted to call him Elvis. Whatever it was.
So literally, the only part that Tony Scott changed was that they put a pirate cap over Clarence's eye.
Yeah.
And then
he got shot,
kept him alive.
He got shot in the head through the eye. So, kind of a stretch that he lives, especially because you knew they would have to run. They wouldn't be stopping in a hospital to get clearance.
The
to
whole
proper
thing's
surgery,
a stretch.
but-
She got beat to a pulp and still managed to not lose a single tooth and survive that.
Yeah, she's
like a tiny girl. She got thrown against a wall and
she
beat.
kills James Gandolfini with what? A toilet seat cover, or what is it? The top of a toilet.
I was actually
and then burned his ass with hairspray.
I was
and a
actually
lighter.
thinking to myself when I saw that scene, if anybody ever robs my house, I would have never thought to pull up the top of the toilet. But now I have a weapon.
It's a blunt porcelain object.
Yeah. Oh man. And I was like, that is so smart.
Yeah, she beat the shit out of him and and then burnt his ass to death, and then continued. Oh no, she shot him with the shotgun too.
Yeah, she
messed him up.
She was a sweet bitch.
Speaking of cursing, how many times do you think they said "fuck" in this?
Oh gosh, I guess I didn't even notice because I was too preoccupied with some other words that they were saying.
Yeah, they say the N-word quite a bit, and
Yeah.
that's something that Quentin Tarantino used to get insulted from. And one of the things he said about it is someone asked him, why do you use the N-word so much in your movies? He goes, I don't use it, my characters do. I just love it because it sounds like something I would say. Fucking asshole.
Yeah, I guess, honestly, I don't think I even thought about the F word that much. I didn't even, it probably was so about the characters that it didn't even.
Come on, just ballpark.
20.
Oh, 212.
Are you sure?
That's what I read today on
wow.
the intro nets.
Yeah, I didn't notice the F word being used that much.
I mean, I can call my librarian in St. Louis and see if it's accurate.
She's still alive.
What?
That was the 90s, babe.
Fuck. What'd you say to me? Quentin Tarantino.
Who's that?
I found your script. Damn it. It's over 15 years ago. Well, I got it. You want it? Yeah, my part in the museum is going to be the incredibly uncomfortable and amazing monologue by Dennis Hopper. Go watch that scene. That's incredible. I just love those two. Man, I wish Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken could have been in more movies together.
Oh, they haven't been?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Christopher Walken, he always is good, almost in every movie he's in. And on Saturday Night Live when he was
he's hysterical.
Going to Saturday Night Live a lot.
And what a dancer.
Yep. Always got some good moves.
That will end it for the first week in TarantinOctober. Next week we will be doing another script or story by Quentin Tarantino. I'll let you figure it out because actually that could be any of them because everyone he directed he also wrote, I think. So, all right, we'll come back next week with that. If you're in the area and you want to come to our Halloween party, come as a Tarantino character, win a prize.
October 26th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's important. The date.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
For the details.
The details. October 26th, Chicago, Illinois.
You can catch us on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. You know how the internet works and all that good stuff. And come back next week. Remember to be kind.
And rewind.